What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gitm podcast, where we talk about all the things that excite us, piss us off, and all the above in the gaming industry. I'm your host, Nick, with my co-host here, Stuart, and we are live today. How's everything going over there, Stu?
Dude, it's going well. I'm really excited for the live show. We talked about doing this, I think, last Sunday?
We did.
Ended up flaking on that because I'm lazy and I just don't like doing new things. That's not true. I love doing new things. Just decided not to. I was like, you know what? Today's the day. I feel good.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting getting everybody's feedback and everything. So if you guys hear us when you guys are watching on YouTube and we're kind of going slow reading stuff from people, I mean, that's just kind of how it is because we're trying to figure out exactly what everybody's saying. So before we were talking about what we ate for dinner, this guy says Alfredo and ham and pumpkin spice snickerdoodle cookie. Jeez.
Spice.
That's not just a freaking dinner. That's a dinner and dessert. That's like a full 3-course meal almost.
Dang. That's impressive.
What we're talking about today, and we'll go over it a little bit here, we're going to be talking about Xbox, the new one coming up, and also our own kind of game of the year situation here, what we think should have made it for the game of the year. I know what IGN said was the game of the year, and I do not agree with that, but that's just my take on it. But currently, I just wanted to talk real quick. We all know that Fallout 76 has had their free weekend, which has actually been kind of entertaining for me. I've been playing it a lot lately. I started playing it what day? I guess it was Friday night. And then I played a little bit Saturday. It's actually, I've given the game a lot of crap, and I know you got things to say about it too. But in general,
do I have some things to say?
In general, I mean, the game's kind of actually a lot of fun right now. I kind of want to hear what you got to say about it.
Okay, geez. So I don't even know where to begin, to be honest. There's so much that I have down. I'll send you a picture later, but it's a lot. The way I do my notes is I typically have like headings for each different section, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I have my heading for the games, which is just Stu's top 2019 video games, for that section, and then the Fallout section I have Bethesda, semicolon, just yikes. And I'm not smashing on Fallout, right? Like I said before in a previous stream or a previous podcast, excuse me, basically I have no issues with the games, right? I love Skyrim, but it was a trash game. And these things happen, in my opinion, because it's Bethesda. Because
Skyrim was a trash game, you think?
We'll talk about it later. We definitely won't have time for that.
No.
But I think there are issues just inherent because of the company that's making them.
I strongly disagree with you.
That's fine. We're here to have that disagreement. I think essentially, Bethesda promised way too much out of Fallout 76. And, they promised 16 times the detail. They said there'd be new rendering, new lighting, new landscape technology. And they said that the map for Fallout 76 would be 4 times the size of Fallout. Now, I don't know if that's true. My guess is it probably is. I don't see why it wouldn't be. But they basically promised all of this stuff. And they said, hey, this Fallout 76 is going to be the biggest one that we've ever made. It's just going to be the greatest Fallout game. The reviews would say otherwise, I think, which is pretty strong. But it went live November 14th, 2018. So this went live last year. And on the first day, it had a patch of 45 gigabytes.
Yeah, that is pretty massive.
They had betas, I'm pretty sure. They had all the stuff. How do you have 45 gigabytes? Day one patch. That's some people get in it first day, pre-order, being super excited to play, and then they have to wait till the next day for the 45 gigs to download.
Yeah. And MeBP here says, Fallout 76 seemed pretty cool at launch with the multiplayer idea and massive amounts of loot and building your own defensive base, but the crashes ruined it. I do agree with that, and you're talking about the 45 gigabyte update. Also, he donated to you, and your dono thing doesn't work. So we definitely...
One more thing that's broken, dang it.
We do appreciate your donation, though. That's big, big time. And it actually does help us out a lot because
it does.
You know, it'll help us get, especially because right now you're working on getting webcam right now, Stu. So
Hmm.
any kind of money that you guys put towards the stream always goes back to you guys, basically. And it's never, you know, expected, but it's definitely greatly appreciated. But going back to Fallout, I do know that in the beginning they had some severe severe problems with crashing and all the bugs and falling through the map and all of that craziness. Um, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare launch. So you get these big AAA titles, and it's like, do you guys not check out what you're doing with the game before you release it? Like, what are your testers doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
that's weird to me.
that's the other thing, right? So this is a little bit further in my notes, but they they didn't have their main team making this game.
They
They had
even had a
some.
beta though, which is
Well,
way
yeah, but
which
the
is
thing is,
wild.
they had a very inexperienced B team, if you will, that was based out of Austin, Texas, developed this game, which is obviously fine. Like, there's no issue with having a second group, a less experienced group, make a game. I mean, they're gonna have to start somewhere, right? But the issue is with all that they promised, you'd think they'd put the best out there. Like, hey, this is gonna be our best game yet, and we're gonna give it to guys that haven't made a game before. Let's see how that goes. It goes on further with like the bugs. Like, there was a billion bugs. It seemed like, they had um what kind of bugs? Anything from like people not loading in to invisibility of enemies, not spawning enough enemies, spawning way too many enemies. Like, the list goes on. There's a video on YouTube. There's one guy who basically recorded all the bugs that he found himself, and the
Mhm.
video was 3 hours long
Jeez.
for just the bugs he experienced. There's also an error code, CE-34878-0,
Oh, that's great.
that
Give it to
caused
me all.
people on console to reinstall the game and the console operating system, and it caused some people on PC to have their entire computer brick.
Jeez.
So you're spending, let's say PC for instance, like I spent upwards of 2 grand on my PC that I just built, and if I had done that, and I had all of my PC just brick from that, I'd be driving to Texas and I'd be having some words with Todd Howard. I mean, it would not be a pretty day.
Yeah.
It's and there's so much more too. Here's a question for you, Nick, and the chat. Do you guys think using exploits that are in a game is cheating?
In what regards? What do you mean exploits?
In regards that, like, so there's a thousand, just as many bugs as there were in the game. There's 1,000 different exploits. For instance, you could do infinite inventory, which inventory in Fallout's a huge thing because you have to
Oh, okay, so you mean
manage that. So infinite inventory, infinite invisibility, moving faster than intended. And the way that was achieved is basically the movement speed in the game was tied to your frame rate.
mhm.
So people figured out how to basically, if you have really high frame rate, to just zoom across the map, which obviously is not how the game's intended.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want anything crazy like that happening, because especially in a multiplayer world, giving people unfair circumstances where they can just literally be basically in God mode. That's pretty crazy to me.
But do
Uh,
you think that is punishable? Like, you should punish the players for doing that, or you should just fix the game?
I think you should just fix the game, obviously.
Right. And that's the issue that I have. So essentially, there's other couple bug or exploits that were in the game that would. It's a gray area because essentially you could get infinite cash, you can duplicate items, you can get unlimited XP gain, and there's way more than that as well. But instead of just attempting to fix the problem right away and say, okay, hey, people who did that, great, whatever. Bethesda started banning people who exploited,
Yeah,
and I don't think that's okay because it's a part of the game, whether intended or not. It's in the game. They're not going out of their way and doing third-party cheats. It's just an exploit in the game. But Bethesda started banning people right away. There was a
yeah,
guy who had played for 900 hours. And it blows my mind that during that time, with how buggy it was, someone could actually dedicate that much time to it. But 900 hours and got banned because he had, in quotes, too much ammo.
yeah. Yeah, I mean you definitely don't punish the players since it's something that they did. I mean there are hackers out there though, obviously, like Grand Theft Auto when it first released they had a lot of problems with that. And then they started banning players, which makes sense in that because that's not how they intended the game to be. So it's kind of hard to decide whether you get mad at a company for doing something like that. But I'm going to go over to the chat real quick and check
Hmm.
out what everybody's been saying. Annie says, I haven't really gotten to really play 76 much outside of making a character and getting to the point of exiting the vault you start in. Yeah, I mean, I started the player and everything, and then I kind of just ventured out. Now, let me say this. I feel like with the game, it's going to get very repetitive very quickly.
Hmm.
So, I mean, making your character exiting the vault, you get a list of things that you have to do, and then I feel like you're just going to continue to do, kind of the same things, basically to like XP grind, obviously. But I don't know what really else there is other than PvP and then just building. Um,
Right.
MeVP says 76 also had the spirits. I want to say,
Sprites.
oh, sprites slash character models glitching with certain armors, so you looked like someone who got thrown in a blender. There were also bugs, like Stu said, where you could get infinite material and XP for disabling
Yep.
alarms, and they also made a dev room with every item, so it was easy to get in it.
So
Wow.
clarification with that, every single Bethesda game has a dev room. Skyrim had it, Obsidian, like every game has one. Now, every other game was impossible to get into, but with the dev room on Fallout 76, pretty much anyone could get in there. And obviously that wasn't ideal because what's in the dev room, Nick, and for those who don't know, it's every item in the game is in the dev room. So that means all the best items are in the dev room, and people were getting into the dev room and taking those.
Jeez.
Um, so eventually Bethesda was like, "Hey, this is not a good idea. We should probably try to stop this." And they put a system in that if you go into the dev room, it would mark the accounts, and then they'd go through and just ban people who got marked. Well, the internet being the internet and how creative people are, what they would do is they'd get a Smurf account to go in, grab all the stuff, get out with all that good stuff, trade that good stuff to their main account, and
And
then
then the mark
the
would be gone.
Smurf account would be banned because it was marked, but it doesn't matter because your main account now has all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah, and
there's just so much. It's
yeah.
wild.
It's definitely not fair because obvious. But see, then that's the thing. Do you get mad at the company, or do you get mad at the players for doing that? And that's kind of hard to justify getting mad at the company when technically they shouldn't have done it. But also like the players, that they can exploit that, they're definitely going to. They're going to do whatever they can to get the best of
But
the
they've
best.
also just handled every single situation like this horribly. Like, for instance, when it came to the exploits, people try to get banned for the exploits. Bethesda sent out an email, the customer support sent out the email to all the players who got banned that essentially, and this is what it said. I'm going to read it. I have a screenshot here. It says, if you would like to appeal this account closure, we would be willing to accept an essay on why the use of third party cheat software is detrimental to an online gaming community for our management team to review. Please take a few moments to review the terms of service and code of conduct which must be acknowledged to participate in Bethesda services. So essentially, you're back in school and you're a naughty little boy and you got in trouble. And because you got in trouble, to get out of it, you have to write an essay. Like, what? The media got a hold of that information and ripped them a new one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, I also know that 76 or Bethesda themselves actually had a problem where people, when it first released, they wanted refunds, and Bethesda was actually not giving them their
well,
refunds.
not at first. So
Yeah,
at
at first,
first, actually,
and then there was some lawsuits that actually happened over that.
yeah. So those lawsuits are still going on, but when it came to the refunds, it's difficult because I think Steam has a refund policy. It's like 4 hours or something.
Yeah, something like that.
The issue was Fallout 76 isn't on Steam. It's on
It's not. It
Bethesda's
is on
own
Bethesda's net
personal
.net.
thing.
Yeah,
And, you know, tons and tons of people pre-ordered this game, and tons of people hated this game, so they wanted a refund.
yeah.
But apparently someone had posted to a Fallout forum and then onto Reddit has got there as well, where they played for a full 24 hours and they still got a refund. And
Jeez.
that pretty much qualified everybody at that point because the
Yeah.
game hadn't been out for very long. And so Bethesda got flooded with refund requests, obviously, because who wouldn't? And they freaked out, they panicked, and they shut it down. And then they sent out an email that said, or it wasn't an email, it was basically just on a Bethesda forum. It said, "Greetings, thank you for contacting the Bethesda support team. Customers who have downloaded the game are not eligible for a refund. We apologize for the inconvenience. If there's anything else we can assist you with, please reply to this email for further assistance. Thank you for your patience. So it just feels like to me, with everything that came up, from the cheating to the exploits to the refund to the Power Edition. I don't know if you heard about the controversy there.
Hmm.
So did you hear about that?
I did not actually.
So the Power Armor Edition is $200. It was what it was when it came out. $200, and with any special edition, you get things with it, right? I mean, that's how it's always been. Like Modern Warfare 2 had night vision goggles, so it's
Yeah.
stuff like that. But one of the things that was shown and reported about the Power Armor Edition is you get this awesome canvas bag, like legit canvas, feels great, holds up.
Okay,
Um,
so I think that's what BBP is talking about inside the chat right now. He's like, "Can we talk about the duffel bag scam?" So this is the
yeah,
same thing,
so
right?
that's what I'm talking. Yeah, so essentially, when people got this $200 special
Yeah, I'm
edition
looking at it right
that they
now.
were waiting for, it wasn't a canvas bag. It looked like it's a nylon bag. Like, it was absolute garbage
Really?
and horrible. And, first off, that's illegal. You can't say, "Hey, this is what we're giving you," and then give you something completely different. That's literally illegal. You can't do that. Um, and so, it goes on, and they got a lot of backlash, as you can probably imagine. I mean, who wouldn't give backlash after that?
Yeah.
Um, so customer support sent out basically said, "Hello, we are sorry that you aren't happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype and was too expensive to make. We aren't planning on doing anything about it. Bethesda Gear Store Support North America." They sent that out to customers who were complaining about it. Like, "Hey, sorry, we just tried to lie to you, but good luck. Like, deal with it." That's illegal. So people and so, they kept getting more backlash, and Bethesda's like, "Fine, we'll fix it for you. Here's what we're gonna do." They decided to give people who bought the Power Armor Edition 500 atoms, which is an in-game currency
Yeah.
that is equal to about $5 in real money that you can then spend at the in-game store, at the
Yeah.
Atomic store. So let me get this right. You spent $200 to not get a canvas bag, and we feel bad, so we're gonna give you $5.
To spend on our store.
Right, to spend on our store. So, obviously, that received more backlash. There was more excuses from Bethesda when that backfired, and then they eventually decided to make a bag, if you were eligible. Like, if you could prove that you bought the Power Armor Edition, you basically had to go on the website, fill out a form with all of your information, like your name, your email address, your home address, a bunch of personal information, and it would get you about 4 to 6 months.
Wow.
The issue is that story should have ended there. But Bethesda, being Bethesda and being known for their bugs, all that information on the form that you filled out was available to the public. People could go in, take that information. They could even change that information. And Bethesda freaked out because, hey, we don't know how to fix this, so they shut the entire website down.
Jeez.
I'm not actually sure if people got their bags. Annie, you said MJ dealt with this because he bought the Power Armor Edition. He didn't care that the game ended up shitty, though. He wanted the helmet no matter what.
The helmet looked pretty cool though.
Did
Not
he
gonna
ever
lie.
get the canvas bag, though, Andy? Or is it just he didn't really care?
You know, that it's kind of weird though when you buy those big ticket items, like $200 to just shell out for something like that. You're obviously gonna want something that holds up and is actually nice that you can put on display,
Right.
something that you want to actually look at. Now I don't know exactly what the bag looked like. Like I know that you're saying it looked like a nylon bag, is what you're basically saying.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be this really nice
Was it like
canvas
a drawstring bag that it turned out to be or
like a
something?
duffel bag.
Okay, so it was just like a little duffel bag. Yeah. So, I mean, you put so much money into something like that, and obviously you cannot do that. You can't do false advertisement. That's terrible. So
That's illegal.
it is actually definitely.
So he did get his canvas bag. Cool. Well, that's good.
She said it's actually a really nice one. To be honest, MeBP said family friendly stream. Okay. I don't think we cussed. Did we cuss? I don't know.
I might have actually. That's on me, guys. My
Good,
bad.
good, good.
I'm sorry. I'm really passionate about this.
So, all right, moving on. We could talk about 76 for a while, but we're already about 20 minutes into this bad boy. So let's go ahead and get on to what I'm actually kind of excited about, but also kind of weary about is the new Xbox Series X. I don't know how much you guys know about this. I don't know. Have you seen anything about it yet, Stu?
I've seen a lot of memes on it on Reddit. How you have like the Xbox X, and then this one's like the Xbox Y.
Well, there's a reason for
Fat joke
this.
for you.
There's a reason for that, and we'll get into it a little bit. But actually, so let's go ahead and read what Phil Spencer said, exactly what this Series X is going to be. He said, from a technical standpoint, this will manifest as a world-class visual in 4K at 60 frames per second. PC already has that. With possibilities of up to 100, with possibilities, okay, possibility of up to 120 frames per second, so not guaranteed but possible, including support for variable refresh rate and 8K capability. Now let me tell you something real quick before we move on. 8K capability, not many people have 8K TVs or 8K monitors. There's not many monitors that are actually 8K out there. So that's going to be a little bit rough for them to, market just strictly towards that. But we'll talk about that here also in a little bit with what else they're going to do. Powered by our custom design processor, leveraging the latest Zen 2 and next generation RDNA architecture from our partners at AMD, Xbox Series X will deliver hardware accelerated ray tracing and a new level of performance never before seen in a console. Additionally, our patented variable rate shading technology will allow developers to get even more out of the Xbox Series X GPU, and our next generation SSD will virtually eliminate load times and bring players into their gaming worlds faster than ever before. So now it's kind of hard to say exactly if this console, it depends the price point too, right? Now we know that the Xbox One X released at, what was it, $499 a pop. So
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of worrisome exactly how much the Xbox One X is going to cost. I'm not exactly sure that they've released anything about the price. If you guys know anything about the price, be sure to put it down in the comments here and let us know. But if they're going to follow that same pattern, then they're going to have a little bit of problems again, trying to move on, because the Xbox One X is a very powerful console as it is. It's not where it should be. And we always say this, like the next generation is where the last generation should have been. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's a problem that they have. But the Series X does look like a PC. But basically, if it's going to be, $600 or $700, do you think that you should just go ahead and spend the extra $300 or so for a nice PC and just, kind of write Xbox X off for good?
See, I have mixed feelings about it, right? I know there's been talk about console gaming going out the window and just not actually happening, but I disagree, because the consoles hit a way bigger variety of players than PCs do, right? PC
Yeah.
is a dedicated person who's, hey, I'm building this gaming PC to game, right? It's very intentional. Console can be a very casual experience, and most casual players are actually on console.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, am I gonna buy another console ever? Probably not at this point.
Which one do
Um,
you have right now?
I have the X. Well, so I have an Xbox X, but I'm using an Xbox S right now,
Okay.
One S. Um, my issue is I don't know. I mean, I built my PC. I spent a lot of money on my PC. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you can build a PC that would be comparable to that Xbox for $1,000. The specs on that Xbox sound actually insane for the amount you're spending. Um,
Depending on how much the price point is.
Right, we don't really know, and it might be up there. It might be $800, and even at 800, it might still be a steal compared to what you'd have to spend on a PC to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think consoles are gonna be around for a while. Is it gonna be worth it? I don't know. The issue is I feel like the Xbox X just came out,
Yeah.
and the 360 was in production for like 10 years. and they're already bumping up to another one after the X just recently came out. So I don't know. I'd hate to have people spend all the money that they will to get the new one,
Mhm.
and then in 2 years have to get another one because now that there's another greater, you know?
Yeah. So what I've heard from other news outlets is the Xbox Series X might end up costing around about $600, which really, in the grand scheme of everything, is not too crazy of a price for such a
Mhm.
powerful machine. Now, what I've also heard is they're going to go ahead and, this is kind of like a leak thing out there, that they might end up releasing an Xbox Series S. So kind of like a downgraded version of the Series X. So they kind of like have this whole like kind of like iPhone's doing right now. Like they have the iPhone 11, and then they
Okay.
also have the iPhone 11 Pro, or I don't even have to call it the iPhone 11 Pro. They might just call it the iPhone Pro.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so they're gonna have like this like same kind of scheme going on where like you can
Mhm.
get the best if you want to spend the money for the best, or you can get like a little bit downgraded of a version for a little bit less. But at that standpoint, what would be an ideal price for them to make a cheaper console that's still good and is better than the X that they just released? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it really, I don't know. And this is kind of like the early stages. Like we're just now hearing about this. So it doesn't release until holiday 2020, which goes for the PlayStation 5 as well.
Okay.
Um, so they still have a lot of time, and then also a lot of shows and stuff to show us exactly what they're going to come up with for the Series X. I'm excited for it, but at the same time, I feel like every year or every other year, do they really need to release another console? You know, but they have promised that there is going to be backwards capabilities with the Xbox Series X. So you're not really losing out on that too much. The other thing that I know is they're going to go ahead and redesign the controller for the Series X.
Really?
Yeah, so not too much with the like the feel of the controller. They might do like a little bit of modifications with that, but they are adding, which is kind of cool, a dedicated sharing button to the controller. So instead of like having to like double tap, hit share this, you literally just click a button and it'll go ahead and record that. So
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sure, if it's gonna like be game changing. The one thing that I'm kind of worried about though is they just released their Elite Wireless Controller Series 2,
2, yeah.
um, and they don't have that button on there. So are they gonna have to release another controller Series 3 to put that button in there, or are they gonna just probably reprogram it,
My guess
like
is there gonna be a
reprogram a button for it?
similar it would probably be just there's probably 2 ways to do it, right? There's probably a button, and my guess is there's gonna be a similar way on the normal controller where you, like, double hit the home button and then hit X or whatever it is. Would be my guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we don't know too much about the Series X right now, and exactly what it's going to be. Obviously, they're going to try to compete with the PlayStation 5 coming out, and I haven't heard much news about the PlayStation 5, so it's kind of hard to decide which one's going to be better. I mean, obviously, it kind of just goes with what you kind of grew up playing. Like I grew up playing PlayStation, and then I switched early to the
Mhm.
Xbox.
Yeah, same.
So now I'm kind of an Xbox fanboy. So
Um, I really like going back to the I like the idea that you brought up of having, like, a higher end Xbox and then, like, a lower end. I have mixed feelings, but I think it's a really good idea for just the gaming community, right? Like, it gives you 2 options. You don't have to spend the $700 on the only Xbox variant. It's gonna keep numbers on the Xbox side, with the Xbox One and the PS4. PS4 absolutely blew Xbox out of the completely decimated them with
yeah,
sales. Um, but it also makes me think, how's the impact gonna be across Xboxes? And what I mean by that is, like, when it came to PUBG, for instance, on Xbox, the Xbox One X outshone the standard Xbox on PUBG, like, it was night and day. And if you had an X, you had the major advantage to someone just on a regular Xbox One, you know?
yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, especially in PUBG. Like, let's take that for instance, because obviously PUBG was meant for a PC because most Xboxes and or PlayStations could not handle, you know, uh,
Mhm.
PUBG in itself. I don't know. Did PlayStation ever get PUBG? I don't think they did.
Yeah, I think they did. I think they eventually got it.
Did they?
Maybe not. I don't know. I think they did.
I'm not exactly sure. Okay, I think that they did. But yeah, so PUBG was not meant for a console game, but the X could play it a lot better than any other console.
Mhm.
So
Right.
the people that dropped in with the X, if they dropped into Pochinki, they had worlds difference of being able to get guns and not getting trapped in the stairwell or in a wall or under like a freaking table. They had they could get the guns and run out there and just decimate you basically.
Yeah.
And he said not been an Xbox user since 360, so I'm indifferent. Honestly, I'm looking at the PS5 though, but depends on pricing and all. um you know I like PlayStation and I like their exclusives a little bit
Mhm.
more
Oh,
than
yeah.
the series or the Xbox series. But Xbox actually, so this actually previewed with the Series X is Hellblade 2 is going to come out. Now, Hellblade was actually, I don't know if you've played it ever, but that was
No.
actually a PlayStation exclusive. Well, Xbox ended up buying the company, and now
Huh.
they have ended up making it an Xbox exclusive.
Oh, how the
So
tables have
how
turned.
the tables have turned, and that's their showpiece for this Xbox Series X coming out, along with like FIFA and Forza and all that,
Right.
which is kind of like their mainstream stuff that they
It's
always
the
use.
same game
They
every year.
exactly they always use it to kind of like show the graphics and everything, right? Um, Hellblade
Yeah.
was an insane game. I mean, it was a lot of fun to play. But I don't know, is it enough to me for me to actually buy, another new upgraded Series X? If I was coming from PlayStation, probably not.
Well, you
So,
might actually get it on Microsoft through your PC, because I have access to like Forza Horizon 4, which I
well, that's
actually have
true.
on
Yeah, they're getting
my
big into that now.
Xbox. But yeah, PS4 or PlayStation in general has just dominated the exclusive market. I mean,
Mhm.
Horizon Zero Dawn, exactly. God of War, The Last of Us. There's so many exclusives that are so much better on PlayStation. That's my one regret about not having a PlayStation. Oh, Bloodborne is an amazing game too. I've played that. Absolutely loved it. That's another Soul series. And he goes, that's exactly why I'm still looking forward to PS5, Horizon Zero Dawn, Bloodborne, Last of Us. So you actually just said exactly what I said. Amazing exclusives. A lot of Xbox exclusives I hear about are shooters, and I'm just not a big shooter player.
Okay, yeah. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I feel like PlayStation more tailors to like story modes, right? And I feel like Xbox is more of like a competitive standpoint when you play Xbox. I feel like people play that to, you know, play competitively on like COD and stuff like that. So I do think that PlayStation has more beautiful stories, especially The Last of Us. I love The Last of Us, and I can't wait for The Last of Us too. Um, but I don't know.
I I do think that how to word this. Um, I think the games that, at least for me, in my experience with gaming, the games that I remember the most are the ones that I connect with most. Obviously, I
hmm,
think that's a pretty common, fair point. But the ones that I connect with the most are the ones that are the story driven, right? I mean, I love Rainbow Six Siege. It's my favorite game of all time, but I like it for the mechanics. I like it for how it feels, how it moves, just the game itself. When it comes to story, like God of War story dragged me in. The Last of Us dragged me in. Bloodborne is not exactly a story driven game, but um, I don't know. I think the games that we remember the most are the ones that drag us into the story and make us feel part of it instead of just this casual point and click shooter, you know?
yeah. And Andy says that's another reason why I'm indifferent in regards of getting an Xbox. I can play most of the games that I care about on PC, except
Right.
for sadly The Last of Us. I don't believe will be on PC. Um, but Bloodborne is, isn't it? But I don't think
Bloodborne's not.
Horizon Zero Dawn is not either. But let's see what else she said. I was literally talking to somebody about this recently. They were asking me if Xbox would be a good idea for a gift for somebody who already owns a PS4, and I essentially told them that if a person is really into games like COD, that an Xbox would be an alright gift. The Last of Us was the first game I played on original PS4, which is actually the first one I played as well, and the first one I played on my PS4 Pro. Yeah, I bought a PlayStation 4 actually exclusively for The Last of Us. And then I had it for like maybe a couple months after that, and then I just got rid of it because I was more of an Xbox kind of guy.
Right.
Um, But yeah, The Last of Us, man, that an insane game. MeBP says Until Dawn and Infamous Second Son were also great exclusive games. I played Until Dawn. I believe I played that on PC. Now that was a good game. I don't know if you ever played
I've
Until
never played
Dawn.
it. Mm-mm. I haven't played either of those two games.
Yeah. So Until Dawn was on PC, and I believe. Let's see what else it was on real quick. I believe it was on PlayStation and PC, I think. Unless, did I play it on PS4? I don't remember, man. That was a while ago. That game released in 2015, so that's quite a long time ago. It looks like it might have been just on PlayStation 4. So maybe I did play that on there as well. Yeah, Until Dawn was great. It was kind of like a Telltale game where you make decisions and you basically, through the decisions you make, choose who lives and dies. So it was actually a really, really good game. If you want to check it out on my YouTube channel, you definitely can. I've got a whole playthrough of that. That was when I was using my cell phone as a camera, as a webcam, in order to record myself playing. Oh, how the times have changed. That was when I actually had a Dell PC, a stock Dell PC that I was using.
You still got the keyboard though.
I still got the stock keyboard, baby. Let's see what else. The Last of Us was one I was watching someone play on YouTube originally. I got about 2 videos in and turned to my dad and said, so Xbox One and PlayStation 4 just came out. Can we go to PlayStation this year instead of Xbox? Because I wanted to play it so bad. Yeah, and that's
Good
where
time to switch.
Yeah, that's where you kind of get like, it's kind of hard to justify. Like if I have an X now, so I'm not probably I won't upgrade to the Series X unless I all of a sudden just get like $1 million or something. I probably won't do it. Now,
waiting for the day.
Exactly. Now, if I had an X and then I started thinking about PlayStation, I would definitely switch to the PS5 over the PS4. You know what I mean? So you have to have a good reason to upgrade. And I don't think there's a good enough reason right now, unless you have like an original Xbox, like the day one edition. I bought the day one edition of Xbox, and I used to have it. I used to have the Xbox One day one controller, where it had it like right in the middle. It said day one edition. I had that. I should have kept it. I wish I would have, but I didn't.
So it's a funny story. Before I got my X, I had the day one edition as well, and it was dying on me. Like you could just tell it wouldn't really run games at all. So what I ended up doing was I wiped all the memory, cleared pretty much the entire thing, and re-downloaded the OS so it would like turn on and stuff. And I realized GameStop was running a deal on the Xbox X. You could get like a lot of money off if you traded in your original Xbox One for the Xbox One X.
That's what I did.
And my thing was dead. Like it barely worked. But essentially you bring it to the GameStop and they test it and make sure it works. So I was like, well, the worst they're going to say is no, right? Like, hey, it doesn't work. Can't trade this in.
Mm-hmm.
And I go and I got like $250 off because it held up long enough to get the discount, baby.
So actually, when I did mine was through Microsoft, and they were running a promotion for about 200 or something off of the Xbox One X.
Okay.
And I had to go into the mall to do this, right? And well, the malls, they use like the little security tags and it'll go off if you go through because it thinks you're stealing something. Right. Well, my Xbox set off every single one of those. So literally it seemed like I was stealing so much crap because I had a big, bag with this box in it. And like they had security. He's stealing. They had security guard because it was close to Christmas time. And like they were literally checking my bags all the time. And I was like, I'm just trying to trade it in, honestly. So, but let's move on from here onto the Gitm Game of the Year. Now, what are your top 5? Give me your top 5.
Top 5. I'm gonna give you my top 8 because I wrote it out, and I'm gonna read them all.
All right, bet.
All right, top 8. Number 1 was Apex Legends.
Okay.
I'm gonna go through all of them, and then I'll go back and highlight a couple ones and say a couple things about them. So top 7 with an honorable mention. Okay, so number 1, Apex Legends. Number 2 was Monster Hunter World Iceborne, which was a DLC. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is Rainbow Six Siege Shifting Tides Operation, also a DLC. Number 4 is Remnant from the Ashes, which I've played a few times on Twitch. Number 5 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 6 is Borderlands 3. Number 7 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And an honorable mention, which the reason there's an honorable mention is because I haven't played it yet, but it's Sekiro Shadow Die Twice. Apex Legends has really come out of the left field for me. I didn't play it when it first came out. I played it partway through season 1, I wanna say,
Hmm.
or maybe at the start of season 1, but it's just an amazing game, and I always go back to it. The gameplay itself is amazing. The general theme, I think, when it comes to battle royale games is you have casual in the beginning when everyone's really dumb. They don't know what they're doing, so you can kind of just
Yeah,
chill and relax. As time goes on, it gets way sweatier. Um,
definitely.
but, like, the sweat in Apex is fine with me. I actually just I adore that game. I adore what they do, all the different game modes that they have. Um, Monster Hunter World Iceborne is just an amazing game. Monster Hunter World itself is fantastic. It's actually my first, game in the series. There's been a lot more before that, but Iceborne really just did a lot of quality of life stuff. It brought a lot of new monsters. It brought an entire new area to explore.
Yeah,
Just an amazing, amazing DLC, and I sunk a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, Shifting Tides, great operation, another quality of life update, 2 new operators, a new rework on Theme Park, which is a really good map. I've always enjoyed it. Rainbow Six Siege, favorite game of all time, so that's why it's at number 3. Remnant from the Ashes. That one also kinda came out of left field. I didn't expect much from this game. There was just there's a connection there that I don't think a lot of games hit. And, it's also $40, right? It's not a full price $60 game, which
yeah,
is why Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is on the bottom of my list. Um, Essentially, I just don't like the fact that I spent $60 on it. I think it's not worth $60. There's not enough content there to make it $60, but I still had a lot of fun with it. Call
yeah,
of Duty Modern Warfare is only on this list because of Gunfight. If Gunfight wasn't a game mode in Call of Duty, I would not play this. I would have spent $60, been super disappointed, and left it at that.
yeah,
But Gunfight keeps bringing me back to play it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you guys mine. So this is not in any particular order because I want to keep you guys guessing. And I'll actually give you guys the release dates of when all these came out as well, just to keep it spicy. Apex Legends came out February 4th. Metro Exodus February 15th. Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey, which not a lot of people know about or played. Actually, very great game. August 27th. Gears 5 September 10th. Borderlands 3 September 13th. Call of Duty Modern Warfare October 25th. The Fallen or the Outer Worlds October 25th. And the game I have not played yet, but looking forward to playing, but waiting for it to go on sale, is The Fallen Order from Star Wars
Smart,
11/15.
smart man.
Um, so a lot of good games there. I want to
Mhm.
go ahead and say what IGN said won Game of the Year, which was Control. Have you ever played the game Control?
Nope. I've seen a lot of gameplay for it. Very interesting game. I don't think worth game of the year though. Not by any means.
Not in the slightest worth Game of the Year, especially when there are so many better games out there. Like,
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys this. My favorite game so far this year, and I'll go ahead and spoil it all. I don't care. Metro Exodus, my
Really?
favorite game of the year. Beautiful game, exciting to play. Don't know where it's going, but it comes with a series. So if you don't know the series and you haven't played the other ones, you're probably not going to understand it very much.
Mhm.
Beautiful game, well put together, an amazing game. Let's go ahead and read your guys' stuff here. But we'll also argue some things because I have a bunch to talk about over this. But I want to keep the comments up to date here. Um, let's see here. MeBP said, I have no idea. What exactly is it? What's
Sekiro. It's basically like a Samurai Souls game,
okay.
essentially.
This is my game of the year. See, I've never played that one. So I don't know exactly what it's all about. I actually never even seen any
It's amazing.
trailers or anything about it
It's
either.
just simply amazing.
Is it kind of like is it a first person thing or is it a third
It's a
person?
third person. Basically, it's a very mechanic heavy game. I mean, you listen to the Souls podcast that Matt and I did together.
Okay.
Essentially the same thing. It's just set in a, a old what's the word? Feudal Japan. I think it's feudal. I think that's what's right. It's basically a Japanese Souls game. A bunch of katanas. There's a lot of different mechanics that set it apart, but essentially it's the same thing. You just have to work your way through the mission or the missions itself. I explained that really bad. Don't roast me, but it's a very difficult Souls game that's set in Japan. Essentially, I mean, there's really no other way to explain that, to be
Yeah,
honest. It just is a Souls game,
yeah,
and absolutely amazing at that.
yeah.
He says you're basically a samurai with a prosthetic arm that you can attach different ninja tools on. It is such as a grappling hook and flamethrowers and such. Yeah, so you have different weapons, just like in the other Souls series. Um, Although it did bring a whole new moving mechanic that the other Souls just don't have.
Hmm.
Is it made by From Software? I forget. I think it is. Pretty sure it's From Software who make all these Souls games. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like an interesting, maybe a game that I'll
it's
check out and
amazing.
definitely watch a little bit. I like to watch stuff on Twitch before I decide to buy stuff,
Right.
just because I want to see how it plays. But Annie says MJ and I were talking about this: Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Pokemon Sword, and Outer Wilds. Wilds, not worlds. Are my candidates? I was gonna correct you on that because I was like Outer Wilds. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Outer Worlds, I know that one. Outer Wilds. Which one is that? Is that? Let's see.
Anyway, I'll keep reading.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
it then goes on to say MJ's was Outer Wilds, Control, and Death Stranding. He's currently playing it, being a runner up. Control is my next heavy story game after I finish up Star Wars. I've heard a lot of good things about Control. Um, I really had no interest in playing it. I watched some gameplay. I actually watched Admiral Baru on Twitch play it. And he it was kind of funny. At one point, he's just like, "Yeah, I have no idea what's going on in this game right now. And if you pretend otherwise, you have no idea. You're just." Um, but I don't know. It's like I just can't see it as game of the year. I just think there were other candidates that were better for it.
Says Outer Wilds is an open world mystery about a solar system trapped in an endless time loop. This actually looks pretty interesting now that I'm going through here and checking this out.
Is it a multiplayer game?
Let's see. Is it a multiplayer game? I don't believe it's single player.
Okay.
The release date to be determined though. So it hasn't released yet, huh? Or has it released on? It's on Steam that I was looking at. Maybe it's released somewhere else. It looks like platforms: PlayStation, Xbox, and Microsoft Windows. Is it 2019? Yeah, I'll keep looking into that here in a little bit. But let's see here. So I don't know if any of you have actually played Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey, but basically you start off because this game was actually my runner-up to Metro Exodus, just because it's such an indie game and that not a lot of people knew about it, and it's actually really hard to kind of understand. So you basically start off in the beginning of time when you first are, the world comes into existence, right? Um, this is more kind of put in a scientific standpoint. It's definitely not a religious standpoint. So you start off as basically Neanderthals. And so you're working your way up and you need to like learn how to use, you take a twig and then you turn it into a spear and then you can use that spear to hunt, to gather food, and you basically like move from area to area and progress the timeline until you become who we are today. So I played it for a while, and it's actually a very, very interesting game. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, I would definitely be sure to do that. Annie said, single player, it's fantastic or fascinating. It's on PS4. Okay, so that's where that's at right now. Going on to, a lot of people said Gears of War 5 should have been game of the year. I don't think so. I think that Gears 5 was kind of boring, especially at the end. It left too many questions, and I feel like Gears should have probably died off by now. Honestly,
it should have died off after the third one.
Yeah, I feel like they're milking it for all it's worth, basically. And it's too much at this point in time now. Borderlands 3, I was very excited for that game, but it actually missed the mark for me. Like I didn't like it as much as the other Borderlands. I didn't feel like it was. I actually didn't play it all the way through, and I
haven't either.
love Borderlands, and for me not to play it all the way through, that's sad. That's very sad. The Outer Worlds, if you guys have played that, is kind of like a spin-off of Fallout. So it's basically what Fallout 76 was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a single player game where you go and enjoy the world around you and you have non-playable characters that you can talk to. Very good game. They definitely need to, because it was a very short game. I think it was only like 50 hours or something. Very short game, something that they need to. I would have never bought it or actually played it if it wasn't on Game Pass. The fact that it was on Game Pass was the only reason that I ended up playing it. So definitely a lot to work with. I'm sure they'll come out with another Outer Worlds too, just because of the good feedback that they got. It was actually one of the games that kind of lived up to its hype, which doesn't happen very often anymore. And he says, we're playing Borderlands 3 as our game night game with our buddy, and it's been a blast so far. It is a good game. What else do we have here? It's kind of boring without others to terrorize. I beat the storyline in Borderlands 3, and it gets kind of boring in the middle of the storyline, and towards the end, you get some badass gun that are cool to use and disgusting attributes. That was one of the cool things about Borderlands, right? You had like no guns, but that's the Borderlands series. Right. No guns are the same. They all have crazy, crazy things. So it takes a lot for, a company to come up with something that isn't really played upon a lot. Like new guns with so many different attributes that they have, like that's pretty cool.
So let's come up with a list that you and I agree with, Nick. Let's do the top 3.
Okay.
That we can agree with. And we didn't really have a lot of crossover. I don't think you said anything about obviously not Monster Hunter World, not Rainbow, Did you say Call of Duty at all?
Yeah, Call of Duty. So I would say Apex is up there.
Okay.
Call of Duty.
Yep.
And we have to have a crossover here.
I don't think we really played a lot, like many different games other than those two, to be honest.
The similar games that we had. You didn't play Exodus. You didn't play Ancestors. Borderlands 3, I'm probably not going to put in there just because I don't think it deserves it.
Yeah, pass. I mean, we played Rainbow this year a little bit.
Yeah, but Rainbow's kind of hard because it's not like a new game. You know what I mean? It's a new expansion. So does it really deserve Game of the Year?
Yes. No, not Game of the Year. Obviously not.
So I really think it becomes between Apex and Call of Duty. And we're going to have a very big argument about this because Apex is fun, but it's died for me now. I don't like it as much as I used to.
Well, let me ask you this question. Have you played any of the game modes?
I have. The last time I played was on the new map. You
played a little bit of the doubles with the duos.
Yeah, and doubles. Yeah, doubles.
Now, you had a lot of fun, didn't you, with that, maybe?
That's only because I'm the best, so I don't know.
Debatable. But so they have an event out right now where you have to take over the train. And there's 3 teams total. Okay. So there's 6 other people against you, and you have to capture this train. And the train moves around the map, and there's 4 different stations it stops at. And at each station, you have to capture it. And you basically, the first to 3 captures wins. And there's 2 different ways you can win the round. Essentially, you can kill everyone else, which is usually how it plays out, or you can actually capture the train. And the capturing the train moves in 2 different sections. So there's 3 parts to the train. There's 3 different train cars, whatever they're called. And if you're when it unlocks and ready to be captured, if you're touching the train, it starts capturing. But if another team is also touching the train, it's contested. After a certain amount of time, it moves to just the center cart that you have to capture. Like the front and the back cart don't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can capture it or you can kill everyone. And it's insane. It's so fun. I actually played it for like 6 hours. I'm not going to be, super happy about that. I played it for like 6 hours the first day it dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And, Mike and I, my best friend, we figured out the meta. We figured out the strat to figure it out and to actually capture it or just kill everyone. It was kind of hard because we didn't have a 3-stack, right? So all the other teams we were playing probably had 3 stacks. We just had some dumb random who had no idea what was going on. So essentially it was a 2v6 the entire time. But I don't know. It's stuff like that breathes life into that game for me. And that's why I think it's out of Call of Duty or Apex, why it's my top choice. Because the only reason I play Call of Duty is gunfight. That's it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me put it this way. This is basically between, Apex, a battle royale. Our battle royale's dead, to Call of Duty, a first-person shooter where it's very fast-paced, been around forever. Is that dead? So it really kind of comes down to, I feel like Call of Duty, they don't really have too much room for improvement. Well, debatable. They don't have too much room for, what they can do to add on to it, right? Apex Legends has a vast world of what they can do because they're different. They're kind of like Fortnite and, PUBG. They can have all kinds of different, they can do whatever they want. They could do 1v50 tomorrow if they want, and people would be like, that's insane, but all right, bet. So, like,
they've had the solo mode in Apex.
Exactly. So they can basically do whatever they want. And Call of Duty can't really do that. They have Gunfight, which is the newest thing that they come up with in years. And then they try to, do like their ground war, and it's kind of ridiculous. Nobody really enjoys it that much. I play it every once in a while, but it's, if I want to play that, I'm going to Battlefield.
Right, exactly.
None of the new Battlefields because they all suck. But I mean, like, I just feel like Apex has a lot that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty doesn't have too much room to improve, and we all know that.
I feel like you're arguing towards Apex being the top choice because there's so much more to do.
There is more that you can do. I don't necessarily play Apex as much as I used to, but when I did, it was a lot of fun. Call of Duty had a lot of hiccups when it first started. Also, there's going to be another COD coming out soon, next year, obviously.
Exactly.
Apex, I don't know if they'll make another one in Apex 2, or will they? They probably not. They'll probably just continue to add on to the game. Exactly. Let's see what everybody says here. Only CODs I've ever played were Call of Duty 2, Big Red one, and I think Black Ops 3. Played a ton of Apex, so that's my vote. Apex is more fair since it had a great launch start. COD had and still has 725 bugs. Just kind of 725 bugs. Okay.
725 bugs sounds right too, though.
725 bugs plus the 725 bug. But you are correct. They do have 725 bugs. So I think it's kind of safe to say that, Apex would be the Gitm game of the year.
Yeah, baby.
We've all agreed, baby. So, yeah, I do agree with that, though. Apex was a fun game. It's still a fun game today. It doesn't get as much playtime for me as it should because I grind so much Gunfight, which be sure to stick around and you guys can enjoy that. But I don't know, Apex. I'm happy with that decision. For our standpoint, now what's your personal game of the year?
Apex.
Still Apex?
It's legitimately Apex, yeah.
Very interesting. Sorry, I was taking a drink of water. I didn't have time to, rebuttal anything.
We're in the middle of a podcast, sir.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
No drinking.
Yeah. So Apex for you, Metro Exodus for me, but collectively we'll go with Apex. Let's see what else we got here. Maybe they're making a Titanfall 3. Maybe.
That'd be sweet.
Titanfall was a good game. Titanfall was a really good game, actually.
Yes, and I think honestly, Titanfall and Titanfall 2 were just ahead of their time.
They were. They were way too early.
If they came out now or next year, I think they'd be way bigger than they ever were.
Right. They kind of came out during the prime of Battlefield and Call of Duty.
Battlefield, yeah.
Yeah, and that killed them.
And I really do think Apex, if they do come out with a Titanfall 3, Apex is going to push players towards Titanfall 3. It's going to push me towards there because I absolutely love the movement mechanics.
Hold on. Apex, slow down. Titanfall Battle Royale.
That's Apex, dude.
No, it's not. Have you ever played Titanfall?
Yes. Okay. Literally,
they have
Apex
Titans.
Titanfall Battle Royale.
They have Titans.
Dude, you cannot. That would be. Let's look at Fortnite when they freaking brought in their mechs.
That's true.
Everyone, like all the pro players were like, yeah, this needs to get taken out of the game right now.
They could do it better.
But like, there's just something. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, dude.
Well, like,
I don't think it'd work.
In Modern Warfare, Ground War is not. It's not a battle royale, but they still have kill streaks, and it still somewhat works in there. It's not too bad. So maybe a game mode with kill streaks or Titans or something like that. Definitely, they need to do something, right? Because games are starting to get pretty redundant by now.
Well, you can just do what Apex does. They have each character has a different ability.
Yeah, I mean they do, but I want something different, Stu. I need something different. All right.
Stop being greedy, dude. Just accept what's already great.
I know. But we made it to 58 minutes, so we'll probably go ahead and wrap up the podcast. That does not mean that we're wrapping up the stream, though. You will be sure to catch us on Call of Duty here right after this. I'll read one more comment, and then we're signing off. It says on the post that they were working on Apex Legends 10-year plan instead of trying to make a Titanfall 3. That is very interesting, actually.
So we might see more game modes. They might bring a Titanfall with Titan game mode. I don't think Apex Legends as is now will last 10 years. That's too long of a time.
Yeah,
People get bored.
it
People are
is.
bored already of it.
That's true. All right, but be sure to follow us at Gaming is the Mission. Also follow our YouTube channel, subscribe, and enjoy it, because we will be releasing podcasts and maybe be doing this every Sunday and Wednesday is when we go ahead and release our podcasts. I don't know. So you got any plugs or anything you want to throw out there? Be sure to follow the stream so you can always catch us when we go live.
Follow the stream, which you're already doing. I think all of you are. Other than that, no, I think just stick around. We're going to play some Call of Duty. We're going to keep up the hilarity that will ensue, because it always does. We might stomp who get disrespectful.
Exactly.
Which we did yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like I'll go ahead and end the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Thanks for coming.